here we go. Got it. Oh, got it.
Welcome to the Villagers podcast, episode 33. Good Lord.
Dang. Welcome to two guys talking over each other and occasionally cursing. Episode 33. Look, Kathy's Christmas lights are still up. Somebody forgot to turn them off last night.
Nice.
What's going on, man? Tell me something good in India.
Here it is still hot. We're still waiting for our actual monsoon season to begin. I don't know when that's going to happen. Right now, I'm just calling this summer number 2 because apparently we have 2 fucking summers now.
So, do you have enough water reservoirs in the center of the country to cover that? Or no?
Not really. There are going to be, like the center of the country gets affected massively by droughts.
Right. Huh. Because I look at California right now is for the first time that I know in like 20, maybe, well, close to 40 years, has no drought because they get so much rain. And then when that hurricane came in, it felt filled the bottom part of the state. So we have, who knows, man? All I know is you and I are the beacons for climate change every time we do a deal. And, it's interesting because, you never hear anybody else's perspective. You see some stuff. I mean, you'll get some video footage, but that's about it. Nobody actually gets to firsthand go, hey, here's what's happening here. That'd be an interesting way to do it.
I was talking to one of my clients who's part of I think some sort of security type business where all of them, about 50 contractors, got moved to Florida because of that hurricane about to hit.
Oh, wow.
So he was like, shit, if I don't email you back right away, it's because I'm busy with this evacuation shit going on. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I'm sure it's worldwide where people go, I'm just not going to evacuate. And they go, there's 7 to 10 feet of water coming in. Are you sure? And I think we need to do a policy where we say, if we offered and you didn't take it, you're on your own.
Yeah. Shouldn't
I wouldn't go back in and get them. Yeah.
Yeah, the Coast Guard and people like that shouldn't risk their life to go back and save these stranded idiots.
I think Darwin's trying to take care of something for us, and we are choosing to interfere with the theory of natural selection.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds mean, but I think I might be onto something. People are like, these two guys are mean.
By the way, I did notice that you have your ACDC t-shirt on, the one that we talked about.
For those of you who don't know anything about this, it isn't that I'm a big fan. For some reason, I traveled a month or a month and a half ago, and I didn't have any, just something to wear during the day. And I was going to go see a friend of mine who is in an old folks home, even though she's 57 or something. And so I had to go to the local Sam's Club, and they have these 80s retro shirts. Of course, I bought 2 of them because I got a Pink Floyd one, which is the original gay rainbow color. I don't know if you remember that from their album cover. And I see all these old white guys wearing them. I'm like, okay, friend, you really don't get it, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Even Sam's Club snuck one in on you. So my AC. Look, this one, if the change in what ACDC meant, definition wise, this would be a risky one as well for Sam's Club to slide in there. Yeah. And they managed on the rainbow color one and ACDC. So pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers, Sam Walton people.
The vintage t-shirts. Some hipsters probably like, oh, cool.
Right. have no idea how many people are going, that is so nice that he's that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm trying to think of what's going on over here, man. On local politics right now, so everybody's now doing deep dives on people. And so we've got a guy named Brett Farley, and he doesn't mean anything to anybody. But he used to be in charge of the state. He worked for the state Republican Party here, and he quit the party supposedly because he didn't like where it was going. And now we have found documentation that he was working with the Catholic Church back then to get into the public school system. And so I've got him. Does it matter? Does anybody care? Anything like that? I'm not sure, but I got him. And what you want to look at, do you remember George Carlin doing that whole routine on whether your vote counted or they are just making you feel like you have a say in something? When you see stuff like this that is so nefarious, all I can think of is George Carlin. This deal was in the works 4 years ago. And then this other guy that I fight with all the time named Ryan Walters was our governor's kid's tennis coach. That's how he got into politics.
Tennis. I wish it was something else.
Right, exactly. Well,
I thought you were going to say he was like the physics professor. He was a science teacher.
No, he was a history teacher. But I mean, low level. He was young. He's out of school. He had a couple of little kids. But yeah, tennis. And people always go, I don't think I can get into politics. That story proves to you right there that you can get into statewide politics, and you just have to get together with the right people. It's astounding the conversations that are had at little kids' football games, because we all just assume everything's in a cocktail party, right? And you are at a bar. Real business deals are made on bar napkins. We all know that. But yeah, so the background stuff. But the reason I bring all of this up, it's too late. The deal's been cut, and I just happened to be the person that was there to witness it and report on it from my angle. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if I wasn't there, I'm not sure what the read would be here in the States. So
you would basically just assume that it worked correctly and it went through due process, and that's why it was approved, rather than know all the shitty background dealings that were happening if we didn't have the context from what you explained.
Right. And I think that gives some different view for people. Whether it changes the way they vote or not, I'm not sure. There is half of the country, and Oklahoma would be included, that literally have a hatred for the Democratic Party. They've done such a better job at demonizing, and they don't love Jesus, they don't love God, and all this other stuff that it really does keep you from voting for them. When in reality, the argument is, are either party on your side? That's the actual argument. That is the argument of the redheaded guy's song, the Rich Men of Richmond. If none of you have listened to it, you should listen to it. That is the angst of America right now.
Oh, I was actually watching a live stream of Joe Rogan's comedy club from like 2:00 last night, your time, in Austin, where the show ended with Tom Segura. And Tom Segura is like, by the way, I'm just bringing someone else on stage before I get off. And they got this guy on stage to play the song at the comedy Mothership. So there are 2 rooms in there. This is the main room. So he named the 2 rooms after like the 2 bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So one room is called like Fat Boy, and the other one is called like Little Something, whatever the hell they named it.
Oh wow. Wow. So that would be the lower level version of Oppenheimer, the movie. So, oh my! But for those of us in comedy, doesn't that make sense though?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, it does.
But this guy himself, because Republicans are trying to claim him and Democrats are trying to shide him, but without having him explain what he was saying, which God, isn't that typical? And they're just like, well, you did this, and you're talking about fat people, and you're fat shaming, and I'm sooner or later we got to be able to say some shit.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna be on Joe Rogan's podcast stalking, which is why Rogan has probably invited him to his club to play. Yeah. And think about Rogan's business mind, okay, where he set up a comedy club where his friends come and perform every night, and he sells tickets and makes money.
Right. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. That's pretty dang smart, honestly. So I want to see where this guy goes. This guy is the newest Joe the Plumber. So you had Joe the Plumber back when I think it was the original George Bush. And this guy got up and asked one of the other candidates. I don't remember. I just remember his name was Joe the Plumber, and he just died recently. It's the only reason he's on my mind. But he was just like, what about us regular guys? Because regular people don't get any tax breaks. They don't get any tax cuts. We don't get anything. My restaurant gets no breaks whatsoever. And I've been in business 40 years. And that is whether we like it or not, the way it really does work. So I always look at stuff like that and go, so this guy does this song, which no one will play on the radio. No one will play it. And it is the #1 song in our country. Now that tells you that people are literally scared of him talking about this. And I hate to say that we are a country that would keep you off the radio. And I did watch an interview where they were talking about it, and they go, no, he's not on there because he's not a star. And I go, he's a bigger star than anybody's in the top 5. I can't name a single person.
The left-wing media is kind of making excuses why he's not on the charts. They're like, oh, no, he doesn't have any other album beside this one song that we know of and the other one that he has on his playlist. You're like, dude, if people are listening to it, just fucking let him play.
Right. There's a guy that lives in the Village that had a #1 song. He was a one-hit wonder, but he was the #1 song when, I don't remember what Beatles song it was #3.
Oh, wow.
Now that guy, he'd never had a song before. He'd never had an album before, never been anywhere before. So that theory just doesn't hold water. We love one-hit wonders. And I think people are afraid this guy's going to become a political movement, which in my case, I would go, bring it on. I mean, why not? Why not have this weird redheaded looking little Irish, Scots, Irish, English, he's got the anger of a typical ginger, but he's really smart, and he always films from inside of a pickup truck. He knows what he's selling.
Makes sense.
I mean, it is. Yeah. I mean, for some reason or another, and he is becoming the voice of that specific former working class, because the working class in the southern part of America are Latinos. It's not white kids from Appalachia. It's just not. I don't know where they all went, or what they're doing with themselves. But you go on any job from, I would say, Missouri south. I don't care whether it's federal, state, local jobs, anything. It seems to be predominantly Hispanic, and I speak Spanish, so I'm not saying I don't know. I know what they're saying, so I know they're saying. So nobody write me a letter. I don't need any of that. But that dude is, and you've never heard me say this about anybody. He is probably since Ross Perot. He may be the most important person in politics in America. And he literally shot a video with a really nice microphone and an incredibly nice guitar, which makes me, I used to think it was a setup. Like I was like, how the hell does he have a guitar like that? But it's possible.
Some of the people keep saying that this is like the right's version of creating their celebrities and bringing them to the mainstream, because all this time, the left used to do that all the time, right? With celebrities endorsing candidates and shit like that.
Right.
So that is like one of those weird theories.
Well, that would work if he endorsed any of them.
I know. He was like, dude, stop playing my song.
Do these guys not know that's who I'm making fun of? This is going to be a fascinating thing down the line. And obviously they talked about him at a presidential debate, for God's sakes, but he's not on the radio. Now, if you're telling me something's not up with that, because, they could easily put him on country radio because that's what the music is. I understand if he's not on pop radio, it's not pop, but it is. So I think that one's pretty, that one's going to be huge 5 years from now. We're going to look back on this and go, he was the Joe the Plumber.
3 weeks, and the video's been on one channel for like 3 weeks, 48 million views.
Right. Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? So there's another one that I would tell you to have a look at is, and it's off TikTok. I know you can't do TikTok in India, but I'm sure the guy exists on YouTube. He's a British kid, and the song is called "I'm a Low Life" or "Low Life," and I think that is turning into a weird little anthem. Not only is the song phenomenal, but it's an anthem for people who evidently were abused, which that isn't really something you would ever talk about on a podcast or anything. But watch it and watch how he set this up, because he's got a bunch of little kids in the background singing for him from obviously a British prep school. And then his look is that he's somewhat thuggish, but these are probably his little sister and her friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I get, you can look at him and go, bro, you came for money. I'm sorry, but you can do that Cockney accent all you want. So I'm getting Camden, and just, it's a purposeful accent. But if that is an anthem for this stuff going on, I think that is who would ever think that this kind of bullshit would be where movements would come from?
I know, especially like hardcore political or social movements, right from viral music and songs that these writers just write and put out there. It's amazing.
But think about the 1960s, Buffalo Springfield, the song War. I mean, that's where it came from back then. So if that's what it takes, I'm all good with it. But it's just gonna be interesting, because when we have elections here now, there's so many political ads on everybody's social media, they just stop watching, just like TV. So, if maybe this is the next way to get a message through. I did hear a white rapper doing kind of right-wing rap, and he was good yesterday. So obviously, if I like this, whatever this algorithm is, I'm hitting these other deals. Right. But, it's fascinating, because I'm studying it. I'm not necessarily interested in the music. I'm studying it going, okay, what demographic are they going for here? What are they trying to achieve if it's a business marketing plan? So let me give some background, since I talk too much anyway. When I was in college, I took psychology classes, not because I was interested in the human brain or anything. I did it because I thought it equated to sales and to marketing. And when I finally said that in my class, the shame that was thrown my way.
Were these like the intellects looking down on you, going like, are you using it for what we don't want to say it can be used for?
Right. And because I would ask questions, and I'd be like, so, if people were thinking this way, could you do this with it? And finally the teacher was like, what are you talking about? And I go, well, I came here to learn how to use psychology, just because I think it can be used in advertising and marketing. And of course, it was already being used in that. I wasn't the person. 17-year-old Sean didn't think of it. I had one thing on my mind 24/7, and I was chasing it 24/7. So it isn't that I was the smartest thing in the box. I was predictably 17 in a country where it was available. How about we just put it that way? But that's what I'm watching. I'm going, the psychology is moving on this thing. And, once back to that Republican the debate, you go, hell, they thought they were using it for their own good. And then the guy blasted them the next day.
I know.
Yeah.
By the way, about the Republican debate, guess who endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy?
Modi?
OJ Simpson.
No.
Okay, listen, OJ is a very popular marketer or opinion haver on football. And did they kill somebody or did they not kill somebody? And now he's taking part in political shit. Okay.
He is actually the poster child for how to get away with murder.
I know. Oh, and he had like the most bastardized pronunciation of his name. It took me a second to figure out who the hell he was endorsing.
Tell me how it sounded. I know you're not making fun of your people.
Vivek Rama or something. I was like, dude, Sean can fucking say that name is what I thought.
Ramaswamy, man.
I know.
Ramaswamy. Now, he does say some crazy right-wing shit that's starting to sound very white supremacist, because he's got a lock on some stuff. I will guarantee you, as a computer guy, he's just looking at the top 10 things they want to hear. He is using psychology, exactly what I talked about, as a sales tool. I still believe if he doesn't go too far right, he is a future president in America. Now, OJ, so on the back of a vehicle, and I'm really not making this up, I'll send you a photo of this as soon as we're done. there was a sticker that said, "This is your line." So you tell the OJ deal at the club, and then you go, "There's a bumper sticker that's been created that says, 'Drink apple juice. OJ will kill you.'" Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? You're welcome to steal that, sir.
But by the way, I did go for that open mic.
Yeah, how'd it go?
Oh, I didn't do anything, but I was looking at the comics. A lot of them seemed to be like the shock and awe comics, because there were some sort of family sitting there and they would like say like the most nasty misogynistic shit to those people. And I was like, dude, read the room, please. And there was one dude who like really bothered me, because after he got off, I almost just looked at him and I was like, you know that thing you're holding in your hand is a microphone, right? You don't need to scream into it. We can hear you.
Yeah. Everybody's trying to find a lane, man. I would be interested, and I really do mean this. So like with me, I'm old. So if I did comedy now, I would have to do like medical comedy, because that's all old people talk about. And so are you familiar with Go Lightly? Have you ever had to do any stuff down there? There's a thing called Go Lightly, and instead of like enemas and stuff like that, because people wouldn't do them good enough, they created a deal, and whoever did it was comedic, called Go Lightly. You drink it, and then you have blowouts for hours, and then you have to drink more.
Oh God!
And right. But you work that into your routine, because you're getting ready for this thing, and I'll tell you the funniest stuff I've experienced is, we always have to do these weirdly humiliating things the older you get. The younger you get, your body looks pretty good. It's no big deal. The older you get, it's just one disappointment after another. It really is. It's like Jenga, they pull a piece out every minute. So I'm in getting one of these procedures, and the doctor recognizes me, which is the worst thing that can ever happen. And he is working on, let's say, something that looks like a sex toy, but it's not. He has to put kind of like a clear condom over it to do the job. And as he's working this thing, Deepak, honest to God, as he's working it and getting it ready to prepare with lubing it up and shit, and he keeps talking to me about like a recipe, and I go, doctor, I don't know how to say this, but can we talk about this later? And he's like, oh God, Sean, I do this every day. I forget that other people aren't as comfortable.
That is fucking gossip. But about your stand-up, right? I have this crazy idea where I want to do a set where at some point when both of us are on stage, and it's us taking the piss out of each other while talking to the audience. I think it would be good. I am
totally okay with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to go into too much medical shit, and I don't have to yell and scream.
Right. It's the funny thing about it is like those guys misreading the audience. If you've got a family in front of you, you better tell family-friendly jokes, because their energy is going to take your energy from the stage. And whoever manages that guy, or obviously nobody manages him, he's probably on just doing open mic. And there's a reason that open mic is nearly free, because talentless people are there. I told you I literally used to tour with this guy that looked like Dave Chappelle and smoked a lot of weed like Dave Chappelle, that bombed half the time he went up, and he didn't know it. How do you not know you bombed? But he wasn't having an energy interaction with the audience, which is what I want. Like tennis, a back and forth. And he just didn't care. He did his stuff. And when you're high,
got the fuck out of there.
Yeah, when you're high, what you think is funny is not funny to sober people. It's funny to people who've been smoking weed. I wish there was a sales, like a course on that. I always tell people, look, you can Google how to do a joke, and you've got a setup, and then you've got the punchline. And if the setup is really good and you're an excellent storyteller, each joke can last a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. If you're Eddie Murphy, it can go on for 10 minutes because the character's so good. But you have to understand straight line, get everybody to identify with you, and the weirdest shit you could ever say. And you don't have to yell it. You just don't.
And also, it doesn't have to be like really offensive to get them to laugh. Like, you can do like normal shit.
Right. Hey, did you see the Bob Barker in the hospital room video?
No.
Okay, so Bob Barker just died. He's a game show host here in America. And he and Adam Sandler were in Adam's movie, but Bob Barker came back to do this deal. It's for I don't know if it's diabetes or something else. Okay. It is hilarious. So just type in Bob Barker, Adam Sandler, charity video or something, hospital video. It's awesome. And it's the same thing. Like
videos to look for today.
This one is worth it because you know both people, and you've shot in small rooms before. You know how terribly hard it is, and the echoes, and the sun coming in, and it's in a hospital, so you know people are coming in. All this other, you know, all the technical difficulties that exist in being able to do that, and they pulled it off, and it was hilarious.
Oh wow,
pretty good. Look it up. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, so I got one more political thing before we move on to beef jerky. Do we have time?
Yep, we do. We are like 26 minutes in.
Okay, so this lawyer here has been working on a sexual assault allegations, essentially, against a football coach. Can't get anybody to move on it. Sued him for $1 million, bumped it up to 5 million, bumped it up to 10 million. Just filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court of Oklahoma to get the coach fired. And I was like, wow, who the hell has not thought of that until now? Yeah, you just take it out of everybody's hands. Literally, the good old boy system falls apart at that point because they can't cover each other. Isn't that crazy? And I was like, that may be the best strategy I've ever seen. Now, you can't keep doing it, but it could set the precedent for getting rid of other bad people. I didn't. So we'll see how that one
set a weird precedent. If people just want to fuck with somebody, they'll file something in the Supreme Court.
Right.
That is where these assholes use it poorly and fucking spoil it.
There's only so many people that know how to go before the Supreme Court, because it's like a weird conversation. It's not like a lawsuit. Like they just stand there and explain stuff and get questions.
Johnny has tried explaining this to me before he had a stroke. He used to do this. Open court arguments. And he was like, dude, it's some of the most weirdest, like, formal shit ever.
Well, it's very British because, you know, that's where it came from. So, you know, we got stuck with some of your guys' shit. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Our Supreme Court here was notoriously corrupt until the 1950s and 60s. So, well, it seems to be somewhat straightened out, but we'll see how that works out. Okay, let's talk beef jerky before we run out of time here. I know my bread's
somebody asked me for some beef jerky, and I was like, oh shit, I'm pretty sure that Sean even knows how to do a THC infused one by now.
I do, as a matter of fact. I think the temperature might still stay low enough where that would be okay, or you could just add it at the end to spray it on, truthfully. So for those of you in India, we eat beef over here, and it's normal. It's not a religious offense or anything, and I get it. That's like pork to my Muslim brother-in-law. But beef makes really good jerky. And it's like the first time ever you'll see white people use spice. I think that's fair.
True.
So they will use soy sauce. They will use garlic. They will use ginger. They will use powdered garlic and ginger, which just is an offense in itself. But they will use all of these
shit as well.
Right. Yeah. It's got a like a cheap potato chip flavor to it. And then marinate all of this stuff, which is not stuff that we do, and then dry it. And I don't know how that didn't move over into regular culture. You know, if you're willing to do that on something that is going to be like leather, try it with a steak. It might work, but it is, it's not hard to do. So we use what's called a dehydrator over here, or if you're just going to do it the right way, you marinate all of your stuff, put it on sticks. If you were making beef satay or chicken satay, so if you're making chicken satay, just throw beef in there, or you can do chicken. It doesn't matter to anybody. Chicken's questionable at that temperature. You get more bacteria activated with chicken. And the reason beef works is it's not activated in that. I don't know why. And I don't know the science, so please don't write me a letter. Anyway, pop it in your oven and then you just dry it instead of doing it on a grill. Or you could just do it on your grill after you've made your food and leave it there until the grill cools, and I will guarantee it'll be cooked. This is not secret stuff. We didn't, preserving food just wasn't that important in America because we always had wild herds of animals coming through you could live off of, but you also didn't want to waste it. A lot of the native tribes did the same stuff by salt curing salmon and stuff like that. But what we found with beef and with buffalo as well, they literally are phenomenal cured in essentially soy sauce. And then over here, there's a drink called Dr. Pepper. People always want to put that and stuff. But if you make satay, you can make beef jerky. That's what I'm telling you.
That's a good reference point, I guess.
Right. I mean, you can make satay. You have the skills. What I find interesting, and I find this interesting with Indian food, because having grown up here, like I love Indian food, and I like naan bread, and I like pita bread, and I like a whole bunch of other stuff, but I don't like with the thin cracker stuff. We all have our thing. But the way to do beef jerky, if you want to do it over there and sell it, is you have to not overcook it. You got to dry it out enough where it's safe, but not overcook it. And if somebody owns a restaurant listening to this, you serve it in a little cup, and no dipping sauces or anything. That is totally wrong. I'm gonna be a little strict on that one. All the flavor has to be on the meat. They just chew on the meat. You make it really salty so they buy more drinks. That's what it's actually about. Yeah.
That would actually be a really good bar snack if you're trying to sell a lot of beer.
Right. I mean, it really, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. I mean, that's essentially almost everything we do in restaurants is supposedly for that. And that never enters my mind, but I know other people are thinking it. So you go, well, yeah, do it that way. It'll work out. Yeah. So that's my beef jerky story. So if I'm looking for a recipe that is legitimately British, I have to go to yahoo.ie, which was for Ireland, and .uk for England, or I get these Americanized versions of all of it.
I know.
How does that work for you all? Do you just go into regular Google, or what's the story on that?
Here it would be google.in, so it'll pull the results as related to India. So each country does its own thing. Like on my phone, I usually have to change it from the US to India because it'll pull me. Like I'll be like a nice steak restaurant near me, and it'll show me something in Oklahoma City, and I'm like, God damn it!
Isn't that funny? Right. Yeah. So my clock is on a different time. So like if somebody sends me an appointment to a meeting, mine says it's like at 9 o'clock at night, and they go, "Oh, you just changed that," and I go, "If I knew how to freaking change it, it would be changed." Deepak doesn't live here anymore.
So you're creating chaos in other people's calendars with your fuckery on your times.
So I wrote the guy back on this YMCA meeting, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, you're showing this being 9 o'clock at night. I mean, I can show up. It's after work, but are other people going to come?" He goes, "I don't know what you've done to your computer again, Sean." Yeah. Everybody knows I'm an idiot. And then the good news is, so do I. I know.
See,
all right, my bread.
Self-awareness is always important, even with idiots.
It is. Even dumb people need to know they're dumb. All right, I'm going to give my bread about 5 more minutes, Deepak. 5 more, but it looks really beautiful.
Oh yeah.
This is what I do. This is what I do in the middle of the night, folks. Literally, it's what I do.
What time is it? It's like 3:30 in the morning. No, 2:30.
I am at 4:36, but I've got to get home and get chased. So here's my morning. You want to die laughing. So I got to take my wife down to a doctor's appointment that's going to last forever. And in the meantime, I agreed to speak at a political function. So I got to take her there, stay with her for a couple hours. My daughter will come fill in the meantime. Then I got to go speak at that thing. So I had to come in basically in the middle of the night, get this stuff done. So I can do the other stuff.
We're recording like way earlier than usual. I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's why. People like my businesses are small businesses. We have 30 employees. They're not large. And so all of this stuff has to be done by somebody. And
Mhm.
there are things that you can't get people to come in and do at those specific times. So I do them myself. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. But so when your life throws you some complications, I still have to go, well, I have to make bread.
Yeah.
Nobody has an excuse for bread. So yeah, we're all good.
Simple things that need to be done to keep the place running.
Yeah, it really is. So that's the way it works.
Thank you so much, Sean. This is the Villagers Podcast on YouTube, Google, Amazon, wherever you guys get your podcasts. Like and subscribe. You know the routine.
Right.
I don't know why I said rule like I was a dictator. Yeah, this power is getting to me, Sean.
I love the fact that O.J. Simpson endorsed your candidate.
My candidate.
What a disaster! Can you imagine if you're Ramaswamy and you're like, why would he do that to me?
I know.
Why would he?
That'll like getting like a brown guy to. Like getting a brown guy endorsed by the KKK, but even the brown guy is going like, dude, don't endorse me. It's gonna cause me more trouble.
You are not helping. All right, my man. Have a good morning.